welcome to Souped Up Recipes. Today we are making 翡翠白菜饺子. 翡翠 means jade, 白菜 is Chinese cabbage. These two words together are referring to a Chinese ornament, a cabbage carved out of jade. These dumplings have a jade color, a pork cabbage filling, and a cabbage shape. That's how it got the name. This is a recipe that represents wealth. My family always makes it during the Spring Festival to wish them good fortune for the new year. I'm happy to share it with you. For the dumpling wrapper, we will make 2 pieces of dough. The first one has a regular white color. Add a 1/3 teaspoon of salt into 150 grams of room temperature water. Stir to dissolve. Slowly pour the sodium solution into 300 grams of high-protein flour. Stir with a spatula at the same time. Go in with your hand and start gathering all the flour together. Dumpling dough should be pretty hard, so this is going to take some labor to work with. Once all the flour joined together, it will look pretty rough. That is okay. You just cover it with a slightly damp towel and let it rest for 15 minutes. During this time, you can work on the second piece of dough. This one, we will color it with some green leafy vegetables. I'm using spinach. Put in some boiling water. Blanch it for about 10 seconds. Take it out and rinse it with cold water so it can cool down instantly. Shake off the excess water. Weigh the spinach. We need about 160 to 170 grams, but I like to add a little more water because you will have some weight loss considering some of the puree will attach onto your blender cup. Add a 1/3 teaspoon of salt. Blend this until smooth. Pour it into 300 grams of wheat flour. You should add it little by little to adjust the liquid amount because every brand of flour has a different water absorption rate. But I made this many times. I know this is going to work perfectly for the flour that I use. Go in with your hands and do the same thing like you did with the white color dough. It is also going to be a bit rough. Cover with a slightly damp towel and let it rest for 15 minutes. Now we can go back and take care of the first piece of dough. After resting, it becomes so much more pliable. You can knead it smooth within a couple of minutes. Shape it into a log and we're gonna let this sit for 40 minutes. Grab the green dough again. Do the same thing. Knead it nice and smooth. Shape it into a log. This also needs to be rested for another 40 minutes. We can put 2 pieces of dough next to each other. Make sure they don't stick together. Set them aside. Before we start making the filling, I want to show you the flour that I'm using. It's a Korean brand. It says all-purpose flour on the package and the protein content is 10%. It's not really high, but it works beautifully like high-protein flour. I use it for dumplings, noodles, steam buns. It gives the final result a firm texture and a white, smooth appearance. If you can't find this brand, you just use bread flour. It always works beautiful for dumplings. If you live in the USA, I would not recommend you to use all-purpose flour. It doesn't work as well for dumplings. It acts more like cake flour. I have tried all-purpose flour in China and in Ecuador. They work beautiful, but not the US brand. I don't know why and don't ask me why. Okay, Let's make the pork and sour cabbage filling. Of course, you will need some sour cabbage. It's basically just pickled cabbage. Very popular in North Chinese cuisine. You can buy this in the fridge section at your local Chinese grocery store. If you don't have access, that is fine too. You can make your own as it's super easy, only includes 3 ingredients. I'll link the recipe in the description. We will need 350 grams of it. Dice the sour cabbage finely. By the way, you can use fresh cabbage if you are not a fan of fermented food. I do have a dumpling demo video where I used the fresh cabbage as the filling. I'll link that recipe in the description. You can check it out if you want. Set the pickled cabbage aside. Next, we will make aromatic water. In the blender cup, add 2 cloves of garlic, which I roughly diced them. Half inch of ginger, I roughly chopped it as well. 1 teaspoon of Sichuan peppercorns and 5 tablespoons of water. Blend everything together. Let it go through a sieve to get rid of any stubborn bits. Set it aside. In a big mixing bowl, add 500 grams of ground pork, 1.5 tablespoons of soy sauce, 1 tablespoon of oyster sauce, 1 tablespoon of Chinese cooking wine, 1 teaspoon of 5-spice powder, and 1 tablespoon of sesame oil. Mix to even out all the seasonings. Then pour in the aromatic water. Whenever I make dumplings, I always stir the filling in one direction to develop the texture. Today, I will explain why. The meat contains lots of proteins. They are long chain-like molecules at the microscopic level. When you stir them in one direction, you are unfolding and stretching the molecules into strings. You can actually see the change. In about 5 minutes of stirring, there will be some strings appearing, like here and there. Imagine millions of micro strings tangling with each other and forming into a net. That is how you get a good texture for your dumplings. If you stir and then reverse, you'll break down the structure and your filling will be loose. It won't join together. Okay, I think that looks good. I'm going to add the sour cabbage and the diced scallion. I always add the vegetables the last because they do make the stirring much more difficult. Also, homemade sour cabbage and the store-bought ones have different level of saltiness. If this is the first time you are making this recipe, you can cook a teaspoon of the filling in the microwave and taste to adjust the flavor. I have made this many times, so I know the flavor is good. Set the filling aside. The dough has been rested for 40 minutes. We can work on it now. For the white dough, you just roll it into a thinner and longer log. Make sure it's even. This will take some patience. Just do your best. For the green dough, flatten it with your hand first and roll it into a long rectangle sheet. This requires even more patience because it is not easy to make a perfect rectangle. You can adjust the 4 corners to make them more pointy. The length should match the white dough log. Another tip for you is to roll the length of the rectangle thinner, so when you combine these 2 edges together, it won't be double the thickness. Lightly wet your hand and tap the rectangle sheet to give it a little moisture. Place the white log right in the middle. Wrap it tightly. Try not to trap any air, but if you did, it's not a big problem. You can get rid of the bubbles while rolling the dumpling wrappers. Pinch the edge to close it. Roll it thinner and longer. If it gets longer than your working surface, you can just split it right in the middle. Continue to work on it until it becomes long enough for you to divide each log into 25 pieces, because this recipe is enough to make about 50 dumplings. Each dough should be about 17 to 18 grams. You can use a scale if you have OCD. I'm just gonna go with my eyes. Lightly dust some flour to prevent stickiness. Cover all the pieces with a damp towel so they don't get dry. Take one piece of the dough, dust it with a little more flour. Flatten it with your hand first. Then we are going to roll it into a round wrapper. This is how I do it. The rolling pin goes forward and back. The left hand holds the dough and turns it while the right hand is rolling it. Repeat this fast and you will get a round wrapper with a thick middle and a thin edge. The diameter is about 3 inches. Put some filling in the middle of the wrapper. Use both of your thumbs and forefingers to stretch the wrapper, then fold that in half. Pinch the edge together and squeeze the dumpling with the hollow of your palm. That's it, fast and easy. Look at how lovely they are. The green top represents the leafy part of the cabbage, and the white bottom is the stem. As I mentioned before, the Chinese pronunciation of cabbage is Baicai. It sounds similar to Baicai, which means 100 treasures. That's why a lot of people will put a cabbage ornament in their office and hope that their business will go well. Now it comes to my favorite part, cooking the dumplings. Bring a pot of water to a boil. Use a spatula to swirl the water to create a vortex. Then put the dumplings in. This way, the dumplings will flow with the water instead of sinking to the bottom directly. Otherwise, they will stick to the bottom and lose a part of the skin. Trust me, you don't want broken dumplings. The temperature of the pot will drop a little bit. You just keep the heat at medium. Continue to swirl the water to move the dumplings. In a couple of minutes, it should come back to a simmer. Add half cup of cold water to drop the temperature. Wait for it to come back to a simmer again. This time, all the dumplings should flow to the top of the water. We will add another half cup of cold water to drop the temperature. This process is called 点冷水. It helps you to keep the temperature below the boiling point. If the water is boiling the whole time, the moisture inside the dumplings will evaporate fast and the wrapper will inflate like a balloon. The dumpling skin might be broken due to the expansion. Depending on the size of your dumplings, we will add cold water once or twice. These are big fatties. That's why I did it twice. If you are cooking some small wontons, you only need to add cold water once. Okay, I think they're looking good. Fish them out, put them on a plate. For the dipping sauce, you can check out my 6 delicious dumpling dipping sauce video and pick your favorite one. I'll link that video in the description. Go check it out. Oh, I'm so ready to give this a try. The sour cabbage adds some fermented touch to the filling, which balances the taste really well, and it's super juicy. The skin is nice and firm. The most satisfying part is that regular dumplings are 1 bite size. These are like 3 bite size. If you made more than what you can eat, don't worry. Dumplings are freezer friendly. You just put them in a container and leave some space between each other. Pop them in the fridge. Whenever you want to eat them again, don't even need to defrost. Just directly boil them. In China, making dumplings is more like a family event. I make the dough, you mix the filling, everybody else can help to wrap the dumplings. Time goes fast when we enjoy the moment with each other. So do the dumplings after they are done. I hope you can give this recipe a try soon. If you did, leave me a comment, let me know how it goes. As always, don't forget to check the description where you can find all the links, including the printable recipe, the related videos, the purchase link for special ingredients if you don't know where to buy them, or the tools that I have used in this video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!